forward to our future, we want to thank generations of families in Benton County for their trust in us. Yesterday, today, and tomorrow, we are here for you. And we hope to see you very soon at one of our upcoming community events. Apex Bank of Camden, building stronger communities together. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Good Saturday morning to you, everybody. Welcome to Operation 7570 on this cool day, Saturday in November, but great to have you with us today. And we hope that your weekend is off to a wonderful start today. If you're getting outside, to dress a little more warmly than what you have been accustomed to over the fall. But it's going to be a beautiful fall day, we think, as we make the transition, getting ready for the holidays. But we just hope whatever you do, you'll be safe and have a wonderful weekend. Our guest this morning, as you know, this past Thursday was Veterans Day. A lot of Veterans Day observances took place throughout our community. And when we get this time of year, we always like to have some veterans personnel to come and visit with us. And I appreciate these gentlemen coming today. We have Charlie Dyer with us in our studios today. He is the commander of DAV Chapter 30 here in Camden. And also we have Michael White. Michael is the commander of American Legion Post 102 here in Benton County, Camden, Tennessee. And also, he's not with us today, but we want to give a shout out this morning to the commander of the VFW post in Camden, VFW post 2109. That's Kevin Miller. But gentlemen, thank you, sir. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here today. Thank you for your service. Thanks for getting up today, Charlie and Michael. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Flash. Thanks for having us.
Well, we appreciate it, and we've had some observances this week of Veterans Day. But, Charlie, let me talk with you. You've been with us before, as Michael has, but what is your background in the military? And, why did you decide to serve our country in such a great way?
Well, I started out in the Marine Corps. I joined the Marine Corps at 17 years old. I had to get my mom's permission to join, but I ended up going into the Marine Corps and staying for 4 years active duty and 2 years reserve in there. And that just happened to be during the Vietnam era, and I got to make a trip to Vietnam while I was in there and visit with them for a year. So I stayed in the Marines for a total of 4 years active duty, like I said, and I got to visit Puerto Rico and California, various places in the United States, and I enjoyed it. I thought it was great. Other than that little Vietnam trip, it was all good.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Michael, what about you? What about your service in our armed services?
I served in the Army for 21 and a half years. Started out in California, moved to Korea, Fort Benning, Georgia, Hawaii, traveled all over, East Coast, West Coast, 5 times overseas, 2 trips to Iraq, 2 trips to Afghanistan, nice little jaunt to Somalia back in '93. Even got to participate, unfortunately, in the LA riots, during the Rodney King riots. So, small town I grew up in southern Illinois, not much there, factories and stuff, and I wasn't much of a school buff, so I didn't want to go on to college and do that. I wanted to do something a little bit more exciting, I guess you could say. So spent a few years jumping out of airplanes, which they always say, why would you jump out of a perfectly good airplane? But they're not all good, from what I've been told. If they're not leaking, they're not full. So, but I enjoyed it. Meet a lot of people, get to see a lot of different places, locations, and do a lot of different things. I've learned a lot throughout the years of stuff I didn't think I could do. It's one of those, master of none kind of trades, So I enjoyed it.
I would suspect there came a time after your military service, you ventured into other opportunities. So since military time come to a close, what have you been doing since then?
Well, that's a long and drawn-out story. So I retired in 2012, and at the time I went down to Harley-Davidson Mechanic School down in Florida. Unfortunately, while I was there, I had a brief incident with a car head-on collision on my motorcycle. So that prevented me from continuing on with my mechanics on motorcycles, which I enjoy to tinker with. I've stayed retired pretty much this whole time. I spent a lot of time involved with the different veterans organizations that we have. From, like we said, the American Legion, the DAV, the VFW. I stay busy within the church systems. I've worked a small job here and there, not much longer than 2 years. I worked at Arnold's Fabricating here in Camden for a little brief stint. I just stay busy doing a lot of tinkering. I haven't figured out another career, I guess, at my age to do full time.
Okay. And Charlie, what about yourself? When your military service in the Marines came to a close, what have been your ventures since that time?
I'm originally from Memphis, and I went to work after I got out of the Marine Corps. I went to work for the city of Memphis and worked for them for 26 years. And during that time, I also joined the Tennessee Army National Guard and retired out of the Army Guard in 2007. So since 07, though, I've been pretty much retired.
Okay, all right. Well, we use terms in our, as we salute veterans, we use terms like a VFW, DAV, and Charlie, you're the commander of DAV, but what do the initials DAV stand for? And, as we get into that topic today.
I'm glad you asked that, because that was part of what I was going to talk about there. Is it stands for Disabled American Veterans, DAV. You'll hear initials today of the organizations: VFW, DAV, AL, American Legion, VFW's Veterans of Foreign Wars, and then DAV is Disabled American Veterans. Is what that stands for. The DAV was established in 1920, so we just hit our 100th. Last year we hit our 100th birthday. It was originally established for the veterans of World War I, and when they got out of the war. Then they established this to help the veterans that were disabled veterans. It's what it stands like. It says it stands for Disabled American Veterans. And that's all part of the Constitution that they have in here. Is when this was established back in 1920, that it was for the memories of our military associations and to aid and the assist of worthy wartime disabled veterans and their widows and orphans and dependents. So that's kind of our mission right there, is to take care of not only the veteran, especially if he's totally disabled and can't work or something like that, then we try and help out any way we can. Help the family out. Help the widow if he happens to have been killed over there, or her. Help the spouse and any dependent children that he had or she had. Then we also try and help out that family in any way that we can. Whatever. That's pretty much our mission.
Now, can a member of a DAV, like here in Benton County, like yourself, can he or she, actually belong to these other veteran service groups that's out there, American Legion, VFW, all those?
It gets kind of, it starts out if you were ever in the military of any branch of service for, I think the requirements, Mike can answer this closer than me, is for one day.
Yes.
All it calls for is 1 day of active duty, and you can join the American Legion. That's all it's required, just 1 day of active duty, and you can join the American Legion. As it moves down, you get the VFW next, the Veterans of Foreign Wars. You have to have actually served in country wherever the war was at. You have to actually have served in a combat zone to be in the VFW. If you were wounded in some way and disabled, then you can join the DAV, but you have to be a disabled veteran of a foreign war. So that's kind of the process that it goes down through there.
Okay. And Michael, where does American Legion fit into this big overall picture of the veterans groups that we have?
Well, luckily for us, I get to say that we got 1 year on Charlie. So we established in 1919. Again, it was during World War I, when you had families that their husband, their breadwinner, actually went off to war, and when they came back, those that did come back, their families were struggling. So a group, believe it or not, this started overseas in Europe. This is where that began. So the American Legion was established, again, to do the same thing, help out veterans as they're coming back, help out their families and their children. Within the American Legion, there's a lot of programs for the dependents of veterans. I mean, of course, all these veterans organizations, the first thing we want to do is take care of veterans. But a lot of veterans don't make it home. A lot of soldiers don't make it home from combat, or when they do, they might not be around much longer. So our main mission is to help out the community that we serve in. And to continue that, we've got to help out the families of veterans. And so we've got different programs for scholarships. We have what's called the American Legion Riders. It is a motorcycle organization within the American Legion. Their main focus on a yearly basis is scholarship, the Legacy Scholarship Fund. Millions of dollars have been raised. They start off in one state and they ride their motorcycles back to the national headquarters in Indianapolis, Indiana. And all the proceeds for those rides and throughout the year, the monies that they acquire go towards the scholarships for soldiers' dependents who their father or mother lost their lives during one of these operations of Iraq or Afghanistan.
Well, as we talk about the big picture of veterans groups, and these are prominently represented in Benton County, the American Legion, the DAV, the VFW, are there other veterans groups out there, other veterans groups that we may not be so familiar with that have chapters and organizations in other towns and communities that, may not have a chapter here?
Yes, one that comes to my mind is the AMVETS. Charlie, help me out here. I'm struggling to think what else there is. There's a bunch of different ones out there. Daughters of the Revolution. They're an organization that works with us within the American Legion, the VFW, and DAV here in Camden. They help us out a lot, helping girls go to Girls State. There's many, I can't think of all of them. There are many veterans organizations. And like Charlie said, everybody's got their eligibility requirements. Most of them are pretty simple to get into. If you've served, I suggest you really get out there and look at what organizations you can help with. Like I said, we all volunteered, most of us, except for those that got drafted. We volunteered to serve. And those of us, we continue to serve now. We retired, we're out of the military, and if you're still active, you can still join these organizations. You don't have to be retired, and you don't have to have served 20 years to join these organizations.
And Charlie, I also think there is in each county, and I think isn't there here, based in the courthouse, don't we have a person designated as a veteran service officer? Explain that position.
Yes, that was, that Bonnie Evans is our VSO, we call them VSOs, Veteran Service Officer, and she is located right now in the courthouse.
Yes.
And she's there 2 or 3 days a week that you can go. If you're a veteran, go talk to her and find out what, if there's something that's bothering you that you want to know about, or maybe trying to get some information on how the VA works, or how do I get to the VA, where's it at, what do I do, then you can go and talk to her and see what's available to you, what you can do. But yeah, she's available to all veterans and anybody that's ever been in the military at all. Just.
Yes, I'd go see Bonnie. A lot of times people that are trying to establish their disability rating and they need someone to help them with paperwork, Bonnie's a great resource. And if she can't answer your questions, she's got contacts that neither Charlie or I have that can help you find out, what you need to do to get your benefits. And that's what she's here for, is to help out everybody within the Benton County. And she actually sees people from all over, Henry County, Humphreys County. All you got to do is find a VSO. You don't have to be in Benton County to go to Benton County VSO. You can go anywhere you can. They might redirect you back to your hometown or where you live, but that's what they're there for. That's her main mission, is to help veterans on a daily basis.
Michael, how many veterans, or any idea how many veterans that we do have in Benton County at the present time?
As of 2019, the last information I had, we have 1,554 veterans in Benton County. And out of those 1,554, only 800 are receiving benefits. And this was brought to us. We had a gentleman from the VSO in Clarksville, Tennessee, come and visit us and have at one of our meetings. And the benefits right now that we are receiving, 800 veterans that are receiving, it's around $9 million a year that these veterans are actually bringing into our community. But if you think about that, we're still 700, almost 800 short of veterans that need to still receive benefits.
Charlie, as I was looking, this week at some of the salutes to veterans that we saw all over Facebook, all over social media, and of course, we're used to Army, Marines, Air Force, and the Navy, of course, but as I was looking at the different emblems and the symbols of these great organizations, I saw a couple of more. I think Coast Guard is represented in something now called the Space Agency, so military's expanded.
It is. Yeah, the Coast Guard's been around for a long time also. They've got a history behind. A lot of folks forget about the Coast Guard, but we've got a couple. I know of one. I think we may have two that's in our organization also that are Coast Guard.
Yeah, and the Space Force is new. It's fairly new. I have a friend of mine whose son graduated from UT Knoxville, and he has actually been accepted into the Space Force. He wanted to serve, but he's a very smart, intelligent kid. And he knew better than to go into the Marines or the Army, so he shot for hire. So he is now going into the Space Force. So yes, that is one of the newer military organizations.
Well, as we are familiar with these, traditional military armed services, that we've mentioned, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine, Space Force. So what will be the duties, as you understand it, about the Space Force as we go further into the future now?
I don't know much about it. I really don't.
I think it's just, well, I mean, I don't know this. I'm saying that it is a offshoot of the
Sure.
Air Force, so it's a lot of Air Force, what do you call it? The same thing as the Air Force, per se.
Well,
yeah.
I'm sure as technology's changed, and of course now we're seeing more exploration of outer space, even with some private launches into space over the fall months, private launches that go up and come right back down. I'm sure,
Yeah.
they'll probably have a presence, and we'll know more about that as we go forward, I'm sure.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm sure they work with NASA in some way.
Sure.
Obviously, if they're called the Space Force, so I would hope that's what they're doing.
New territory, and again, we'll learn more about that as time goes along then. Charlie, what are some things that we might see the presence of veterans in our community, the things that they're involved with, like programs up on the square from time to time, and I think in recent months or a year or so ago, we put the, kind of reminds me of a post office box deposit put up there at the courthouse where we can dilapidated flags. Talk about that for a minute or two, sir.
I think Joe Craven was the instigator of that program about putting that box up at the courthouse for dilapidated flags, ones that are no longer serviceable. And you don't know what to do with it. How do you get rid of a flag? A lot of people don't know that there's a procedure that you go through to destroy the American flag. It's not just wad it up and throw it in the trash, So you could deposit it in that box, and Joe Craven used that as a training for the Boy Scouts. The Boy Scouts would come up, he'd carry these things to the Boy Scout post here in Camden, and they would have a ceremony. They did have one that I know of out at the park one time to where they showed how to properly dispose of the American flag. And it was very interesting. It has to be completely shredded, cut apart, and burnt. So it was all taken very militarily, the process of it. It wasn't just ripped up and thrown in a fire. It wasn't. It was a ceremony. So that was very interesting.
Michael, as we talk about Joe and the great work he does with the Scouts, I know on Memorial Day in particular, they've been out at some cemeteries. I saw them this past Memorial Day out at Camden Cemetery, and they went to other places, I think, putting flags on the grave sites of fallen veterans.
Yes, sir. Every year, usually the Friday before Memorial Day. I'm sorry, I'm getting stammered here. We will go out and we will go through every grave site and look at all the different markings, and if it's a Civil War, any kind of veteran marking on their tombstone, we will place a flag there, and they stay throughout the weekend. And the Boy Scouts come out and help us, and the American Legion, DAV, VFW, we all get involved. Place the flags there. If there was already a flag there from, say, a family member left one, we'll replace it if it's tethered. And like Charlie said, there's proper disposal of a flag. You don't just throw it away. So we'll pick them out, we'll get rid of them and put a new one in there, and we do that every year. Again, it's just a small token of a way we can give back to the community and give back to those who've already served and unfortunately gave their life for this country.
A few moments ago, I asked you about veterans, how many veterans we have in Benton County right now, and you went over that statistic with us, and we're losing them more and more every day. I know that, but we still have a few veterans from World War II, and we owe them a great debt of gratitude, of course.
Yes, sir. One that comes to mind every time is Ralph Rogers. He is a World War II. He was a POW at one time. I was honored to see him on Thursday at the veteran ceremony out at Holiday School. If anybody out there has never been to a veteran ceremony, I suggest going out to the Holiday School veteran ceremony that they have every year. There was a girl, I want to say she was in first grade, that sang a really good Christian song. She's only been in country a few months, they said. She's learning English still, and she just blew us away. Kindergarten all the way through 8th grade, each class gave some type of ceremony. So Ralph was there. Very honored to see him every time I can see him out and about. And he's just one of the true heroes of, what the military is about.
He really, really is, and we appreciate Ralph for his service. And I had the opportunity to sit down with him, I guess 3 or 4 months ago. I just took a recorder, and we videoed it as well, and just had him just to tell his story. And I know it's a story they don't want to talk about, and I understand that, but, I just set the recorder down there and just let him tell what he wanted to about his experiences, because these things, Michael and Charlie, they're important.
Yes, sir. That's, you'll hear a lot about, like myself, my grandfather was a World War II veteran. You'll hear gentlemen that have served in Vietnam, and you'll hear their sons or daughters say, yeah, my dad never talked about that. There's just certain things that we go through in life and go through overseas that you don't want to either remember, or it brings back memories when you do remember it, and it hurts. And I'm glad you brought that up. One of the things that is very prevalent today is the 22 suicides a day within the military. Right now we're averaging 22 suicides. That's one every 65 minutes for veterans. There's a lot of different statistics running around, but there's a group out there that supports this 22 a day. Veterans Hotline, if there's a veteran out there that you're even contemplating it, there's ways to get help. There's a 1-800 number now that you don't talk to a recording. You don't have to press 1 for English. You get on there, it's 1-800-273-8255, and when it comes on, you press 1, and you will talk to a professional person right then and there. If you're not comfortable with that, I was online this morning, and you can go to the veteranscrisisline.net, and you can chat on your computer with somebody. You can text. You can text the number 838-255, and you can talk to a professional about that. And that's just one of those things where when you go to war and you come back, not everything about war is fun. I mean, it's just what it is. It's not fun. Sometimes you'll have some good moments over there, but a lot of it's, not always something you want to come back and remember and share with everybody. So if you got Ralph to share, I would love to hear that someday. That would be a story I would love to know about.
Well, I mean, it was just an honor, just to sit down with him, and he showed some of his medallions and medals that he got then, and just to, you just let him tell the story, and you just feel moved. You just feel moved and proud, that you're in the presence of a person that sacrificed so much for what we have today. And,
Yes, sir.
I'll try to get that up, and I'll try to get you a copy of it.
All right.
Yeah, okay.
I think 2 years ago when Apex Bank put that veterans meal on, I think we had 7 World War II veterans at that time. I don't think we've got all 7 of those left here in Benton County.
Tuesday at the Apex Bank Veterans Day lunch, there was 2 that stood up.
Yeah.
Out of the whole group, there was 2 that stood up.
And I know last year, about August 2020, we lost a World War II veteran, Mr. Art Smith.
Yes.
Oh, yeah,
We
Arch.
lost Mr.
Yeah.
Arch, and of course Ralph and Mr. Allen that was out there. I met Mr. Allen, Glendale Allen. I met him this past Tuesday then. But, again, we appreciate the sacrifices they've made so very much. And speaking of Apex Bank, we need to take a break right now because they're the sponsor of this program on Saturday morning. So we'll take a break and resume Operation 7570. Stay with us.
Hello, folks. This is Marcus Vine with Apex Bank of Camden, and we're proud to announce that this year is our 90th year serving the Benton County community. Since Bank of Camden's humble beginnings in 1931, we have been a proud part of this community, and as a community, we've come through many challenging and difficult times together, both then and now, over the last 90 years. Helping to provide economic stability and growth, investing in our hometown, and delivering great service to our valued customers was our vision from the very beginning, and that has not changed. As we reflect on our past and look forward to our future, we want to thank generations of families in Benton County for their trust in us. Yesterday, today, and tomorrow, we are here for you, and we hope to see you very soon at one of our upcoming community events. Apex Bank of Camden, building stronger communities together. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Welcome back to Operation 7570 on this Saturday. We're talking with a couple of outstanding veterans in our community today. Charlie Dyer, who is the commander of DAV Chapter 30 in Camden. Disabled American Veterans, DAV, okay. And we also have in our studios the commander of American Legion Post 102. This is Michael White, and these gentlemen have been with us before. as we are into Veterans Day. It was observed, of course, this past Thursday, but of course, we can talk about veterans 365 days a year. They deserve our appreciation and gratitude for all the things that they have done. And Michael, Charlie, I want to give a shout out to our friend Michael Lawler. You know, we have Michael in here sometimes, but Michael did a great job at the Apex program this past Tuesday, but suffering a little bit of bronchitis, and I think he's getting better, but we wish him the very best and appreciate his service.
Yes, sir. Mike is our media guy. He's also my adjutant within the American Legion, and he's also our District 6 American Legion commander. So Mike has a lot of hats he wears throughout the community and throughout the state of Tennessee.
You mentioned the term, we're talking about initials and what they stand for, but you just mentioned the term adjutant. What's the definition of adjutant?
Oh, goodness. I don't want to upset Mike, but being the adjutant, he's kind of like my secretary. He's a very highly skilled secretary. I don't want to narrow it down, but he really, a commander, I'm in charge of the meeting. Mike pretty much runs the meeting for us. He keeps a lot of the information. He does all the reporting. He does everything within the organization to keep us flowing. He really does. And don't want to downplay it. The adjutant's job, a lot of gentlemen, when they come in, volunteer to become an American Legion member or a disabled veterans member within the organization, that's one position that you have a hard time filling. You got to have somebody that's really dedicated and has a lot of time on their hands, because you're talking within the department, the state of Tennessee. You might get asked to do something within the community. It's kind of Mike's job to, like setting this up today, for us to come in and talk with you on the radio, or get with Apex Bank when they have their fish fry and set up the 13 folds and do those kind of ceremonies. That's what Mike does for us. He's hands-on on everything we do.
And he has I'm sorry, Charlie, go ahead.
No.
Okay. But, and I've heard Mike many, many times, and it's always moving when I hear Mike speak, very knowledgeable about the military and the symbolism of things. And Charlie, one of the most moving things I have seen, and it was out at the Armory this past week, was the table, the missing of the table, with the symbolism, the POW, I guess. it represents.
MIA table.
Yeah, yes. Go MIA. Talk about that for a moment, sir.
POW MIA, that's prisoner of war and missing in action. We have a lot of individuals that are still missing from all the wars, not just the Vietnam or World War II or Korea. We have thousands of missing in action people that they don't know where they're at. They're just, what happened to them? They got killed somewhere, or were they prisoners of war? They're just MIA. That's all they can ask. That's all they can category them as missing in action. They don't know where they're at. We still have prisoners of war in various places. Vietnam, probably. I'm sure that there are some still there and that are POWs somewhere over in Vietnam. But after all of this time, I doubt if there are very many, if any, left, maybe from Korea or World War II. But they don't. POWs just don't last very long. Once they're captive, then that's pretty much the end of it, unless they just happen to get released or something. But we honor those individuals with that table, that they're always present with our memories and thoughts, and so we honor them by putting that table up at the meetings. We have that same table set up at our meetings, and we have a little reading that we honor them by reading this kind of a prayer type of thing that and remembrance of them.
Yeah.
Each item on the
Go ahead.
Each item on
Sure.
the table represents something, and one of the main things is we talk about. You'll see a glass, and it's usually inverted to where it's upside down because they can no longer toast with us. We have a chair there. We usually put a POWMI flag draped on the chair. That chair is empty for a reason, because they are no longer with us. And that's, like I said, there's salt on the table. It represents something. The white tablecloth, the purity, the rose, the bloodshed. I mean, there's just everything about the table is very symbolic.
Yeah. And another symbolic aspect, and I think I heard Mike go through this back on 9/11 a couple of months back, the 13 folds. You talk about the 13 folds, the flag, when it is folded up into 13 folds, and as you go through that ritual, if that's the proper term, if you go through that, that's another moving part.
Yes, sir. That was, Charlie, you want to talk about it, or you want me to go ahead and take it?
I can start it. You
Go
can,
ahead.
That's a ceremony that we have picked up on with the American Legion VFW. We've started doing that recently, and we're available to do this ceremony. We've done it many times for various organizations around town, and church groups, schools, you name it, and we've just about been there. But if you would like to have this 13-fold ceremony presented to your group, wherever they are here in town, let us know, and we'll be glad to come and put that ceremony on and tell you what each fold of that flag represents. Every time that flag is folded, and it's folded 13 times, every fold of that flag represents something, and we'll read out the meaning of each fold and how. And as it's read out, a couple of the participants will fold the flag that time until it gets completely folded up and presented to someone.
Michael, might this ritual or process, might it go back to the original 13 states way back in 1776, reckon?
And it's funny you brought that up. That's what I was going to say. A lot of people think that the 13 folds are in representation of the 13 original colonies, and it's not. And that's part of the program. When we're reading the program to you, and it's usually Mike Lawler, who's our voice, as he does that, each fold represents something other than the 13 colonies. Represents, here I'm going to forget, I can usually got it memorized. I'm the one who usually folds, and Charlie's usually my assistant doing it. But each step of the fold represents different things, whether it's the men who have served, the mothers who have participated, who have had sons go off to war. It's I can't even think about it. I've got all these notes, and that's the one thing I didn't bring with me. But it's just, it explains everything. And the one thing, if everybody always looks at a memorial flag at the end of a ceremony for a funeral, it's always in the shape of a cocked hat, which that does represent from back in the earlier war days when they used to wear the little cocked hats. So that's what it ends up being. And then the stars have to be shown a certain way, and we make sure when it's folded there's no red showing. So there's a proper way to fold every flag.
I wanted to ask you gentlemen too, I think 2 or 3 years ago it came into existence over at Parker's Crossroad, the Veterans Cemetery, and there are very few veteran cemeteries, and we have one that close. And I was over there, I think about 1.5 years ago, or maybe longer than that, maybe before the pandemic hit. But that is another, when you go through that, you just feel the presence, of those who have served as well. Do you know how that came about to be this close to us at the 108 mile marker?
Charlie, I don't know how they come about where to put in. I believe that the counties or the cities around there have to really push for it. I know when I lived at Fort Campbell, Kentucky, there is Kentucky West Veterans Cemetery. That is only one of 3 in the state of Kentucky. Veterans cemeteries are not that prevalent. I don't know how it comes about. I believe it has to go through state.
Yeah.
And the thing about a veteran ceremony funeral cemetery, is that veterans are buried there, yes. But nowadays, like at Parker's Crossroads, my spouse can also be buried there with me. Now with that, they won't be buried in a separate grave site, but whoever goes first will be buried first, and then your spouse will be buried above you, or vice versa, whoever passes first. And both names will be on the headstone. So that's something very prevalent for veterans. There are requirements for it to be buried there, whether it's going to be costly to you or not. Most of the time it is most of the parts of that is free for veterans. Parker's Crossroads has a awesome, I can't even think of any other word, honor guard that does a lot of burials around here. That was one of the statistics I was looking at within the National American Legion, how many actual funerals that, veterans organizations performed throughout the years. And if I can take a moment to look at my notes real quick before I give you the false information. Funeral honors, they did last year 125,000 within just American Legion veterans organizations performing detailed honor guards for funerals for veterans.
I worked on that funeral honors program when I was in the National Guard. I was part of one of those programs, and I was just in this area, just in West Tennessee, pretty much is what it was, and just I did over 200 funerals in a year's time. I participated in over 200 funerals. You're surprised at how many veterans pass away every day. It's unbelievable. And that's a program, I'm glad you mentioned that too, Flash, because that's a program that a lot of folks are not aware of. If your relative passes away that was ever in the military, they can call this Parker's Crossroads or make sure that the funeral home that they go to calls Parker's Crossroads, and they will come out and do this ceremony. They'll participate in that ceremony. Just if you were a veteran, then you can get that service done.
A lot of people also, and this brings to mind too, a lot of people may not be realize that I think we have a veterans home in Humboldt, don't we? A veterans
Yes.
home down there, and didn't the American Legion here or a group go down there and present them with some chairs not long ago?
Rocking chairs.
Yes, tell me about that, Charlie.
We have an individual that was a member, that still is a member of our American Legion VFW post here in Camden, Bradley Blackburn. I think you may know
Yes,
Bradley.
absolutely.
That's where he's at right now. And we honored him and the home there for him by carrying how many? 10 chairs out. We purchased 10 wooden rocking chairs, and we refinished them, sanded them down, and refinished them, and placed our logos and stuff on the backs of them, and carried them down and talked to the people there at Humboldt. And they said they would be more than happy to be an honor for us to bring them chairs down and present them to those. And we did it in memory of Bradley. We carried those chairs down there and gave it to the home there for
Yes.
them.
A lot of the people that work there were telling us that they would have to go into like the cafeteria and get chairs, or one of the break room areas and get chairs for the veterans there that are living there to go outside and sit and just enjoy the day. So now they have rocking chairs out front in the back patio area that we've donated. That's where they get to sit. And I know that day we were there, Bradley just sat and rocked and rocked and rocked, and they said he didn't even want to get out of the chair. So it's just another way that, again, we just try to help out our veterans and the communities. And Humboldt is one of the closest veterans homes that we do have here. Now, we do have other veterans that are in other just regular nursing homes throughout this area.
Has the pandemic over the past 18 months, Michael, has it actually affected some things you and folks like Charlie, has it affected things you really want to do in the community?
It has, Flash. Of course, when the pandemic hit, we had to stop having meetings. Fortunately for us, we were meeting at the Country and Western restaurants where we meet, and we did stop having meetings for 2 months. But again, we're here to serve the community. That's what we've got to do. So we did slow down a little bit. The biggest thing for the American Legion is that last year alone, we lost 14,000 veterans. Now, I'm not saying that that's how many people have passed away, but we lost that many members within the American Legion throughout the nation. And 14,000 members is a lot. So we don't know if it was just pandemic. We don't know if that many people have passed away from the COVID-19. But it does hinder because, like the 13-fold ceremony, we would perform that every week if we could, if we had the time and the people that wanted us to do it. But because the organizations themselves having to shut down, churches not being open for so long. So that did put a hindrance on us. Veterans Day last year, Apex Bank couldn't hold their luncheon. What they did do is a drive-through. So it does affect the things we try to do on a daily basis for the military around here and for the veterans.
Yeah, you mentioned going to Holiday, and I've been up there before on the Veterans Day when they do their program. Outstanding job, of course, and I think Big Sandy has done one as well. And of course, I've been used to going out to the high school for their Veterans Day program each year. And of course, unfortunately, they haven't done that in person because of the pandemic. But last year and this year as well, they put up a virtual video of the salutes with the kids and their essays and the band performing, and that's available. Mr. McDowell, the principal out there, called me this week, and that's up on their Facebook page right now.
Yes, sir. Diane Goodson, who is a teacher there within the school system, she's also a member of all three of our organizations, and she sent us the link, and yeah, they did it virtually this year. We're hoping next year maybe that they can we can do it in person. It is a good performance. It's also a good day for veterans to get together. Maybe you haven't seen it in a while. You didn't even know that your buddy down the street is a veteran, and you get to figure out who within the community is veterans. And we're hoping to possibly perform the 13 folds for the school next year.
Yeah. And speaking of the schools, one thing, again, that was very moving to me, it happened just before the pandemic. I think in February of 2020, we had some young men that took the oath to serve in our military, and their oath was done in a school assembly out there, and it was done by personnel who were up at the space station, as a matter of fact. They had a big video showing and that sort of thing, and I forgot who the commander was that gave the oath of office to those 6 or 7 at Camden Central High School in 2020 that decided to have a career in the military. And they had, recruiters, I think, from Paris, maybe Clarksville, that were here for that occasion. So that was good as well, and I'm glad I got to witness that.
Charlie, I wasn't part of that. Did you get to see that?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, February, March of 2020, just before the pandemic, as a matter of fact, then. So
that's awesome. Well, and that's one thing we do find out through the schools of the number of boys and girls that are joining the service after graduation. And if we find out, we do have gifts for them. We usually do recognition of any student who is going into the service.
Okay. If a person, a young man or a young woman, would like a career in the military and would like to talk to either of you, I'm sure you would be glad to talk with them. Charlie?
Absolutely. We're recruiting all the time. We always recruit, and if it's just like you said, if you just want some advice or whatever about the military, what to join, where to go, what to do, yeah, we can talk to you. We've been there and done that, and we'd be glad to give that information to you.
And as time goes along, things change, careers change, the things you use in your career, what it is today, it wasn't 15, 20, 30 years ago, and things always changing, Michael.
Yes, sir. We talked about that before we started here this morning. Technology is something unreal, I'm sure almost everybody out there listening knows about Facebook. You might not have Facebook, but there's Facebook and there's the internet and there's websites that we go to. So even for us, we've had to learn, a lot of the older gentlemen, no offense, Charlie, have to learn that, with the computer age now.
You can go ahead and hit him, I don't care.
Like you mentioned, Mike and the adjutant, what's the adjutant do? Instead of having to do a form and mail it in and wait for it to be received and wait for confirmation and take a month to get everything's done electronically now. So, we can do our memberships online. We can do all of our training online. We had to do virtual meetings like you were talking about earlier, what happened during the pandemic. We have virtual meetings. We had virtual training within the American Legion the last Tuesday of every month. That's nationwide. It's not just here within the community. So the websites are out there too if you need information. I know for the American Legion, it's legion.org. Very simple to go to. There's links for everything. There's links to get to recruiters. If you've got questions, that's where I would start. Or I believe it's still www.goarmy.com is still the link for the military for the Army, and I know that one because that's where I served. So there's links for everything out there nowadays, and easy to get to. The American Legion, we do have a Facebook page. It's Camden Post 102. If you search that within the Facebook search parameters. Our website is currently down for maintenance. It is camdenpost102.org. So technology is definitely out there for us to keep trying to keep up with.
Yeah, okay. And Charlie, I want you to talk about that as well, the website of DAV, of course. And I can't let the conversation end without saying about the wonderful, wonderful things going on at Veterans Park and the way that plays out at Industrial Park. Yes, how that is kept up and, what that means to us.
Yes, that's been a big plus out there. That was really that pavilion and all out there that we've used that thing numerous times for all the organizations go out there and cook. We've had picnics and stuff out there with all the organizations. And of course the moving wall, the Vietnam Wall was out there a couple of times. So that's really been a big asset out there. That's really been a plus for us to be able to go out there and have a flag ceremony with the flags out there and with the pavilion. And let me say, that was the website on the DAV is also dav.org. So that's, if you'd like to get on there and find out some information also.
And you can just Google these things. Google American Legion, DAV, VFW. You just Google these things and the website will pop up.
Yes, sir. Just be careful. I know myself Googling stuff for Camden Post. We're a little bit different. You got to remember, there's more than just one Post 102 within the American Legion. There's more than one. Well, I don't know if there's more than one Chapter 30 within the DAV, but the American Legion there is. So it might be in another state. So you got to be kind of specific when you go to Google that stuff. And I believe it's the Benton County Veterans Organization that really maintains that out there at the industrial park for us. And I know recently we did the Dover Post 72 in Tennessee had a motorcycle ride, and they came through here in Benton County, and we provided support with them. And we're looking at doing another one here real soon, a very large motorcycle event. And so I know there's a lot of groups out there that come out and support that. So we did that out there at the industrial park at the Veterans Park. So it was very nice to have that out there.
Now, does the Legion offer scholarships to a senior, or is that part of the veteran? As we close today, are you still doing that, or?
Yes, sir. There are all kinds within all three organizations. There's different events. We hold what's called Patriots Pen, Voice of Democracy, oratorical contests. They have contests that we ask the kids to participate in. I know for ourselves, for the American Legion, just participate, and the kid that wins, it might not sound like much, but it's $50 for them just to participate and win our level. They move up nationwide. It goes up to $25,000 for different levels of different events. So there are scholarships that kids can come and talk to us about, apply for, and if they're eligible, they'll receive the money through the different organizations. I know that the DAV, the VFW, and the American Legion, we all have these kind of things because, again, we're here to support first the veteran, but then the families of the veterans. Because, again, I know for a fact, I unfortunately this year have been to a lot of military funerals, and their kids are young, and they still haven't made it to even the high school level yet. And so we try to help out those kids as much as we can with scholarships.
Go ahead, Charlie.
We also, the Boy State and Girl State,
Yes.
that's two of the big things that we sponsor also. And those are conducted at Nashville or Murfreesboro's.
It's at the college.
One of the colleges. Middle Tennessee State, yeah. And we will sponsor that person going up there, and that's, or at least one. They're going up on the price, so we have to we started out with two. We'd sponsor 2 boys and 2 girls, and they've gone up on the price to where we can only sponsor one of each now. But and if the individual is interested in a career or just interested in being in politics, is what Boys State and Girls State takes care of. They will show the state senate and everything from the governor on down, how politics work in our state.
Yeah.
So that's a good one if you're interested in that type of.
And right now we do have the Boys State. We're looking for 2 young men and 2 young women to go to Girls State. And just to add on to what Charlie said, it is at Tennessee Tech University campus.
Cookeville
is where it is, in Cookeville. And I got a little blurb here if you don't mind me sharing this there, Flash. It's a lot of people don't understand what Boys State is. Like Charlie said, they go there and they learn about the government. And I was funny reading this. It's a mythical 51st state is what it says on our little blog. So you become the 51st state within the United States, and they sit in a courtroom or they sit in a room and they actually go back and forth against each other as representatives. There's no Democrat or Republican. There's no specific government. It's all mythical, but it's only for young men who are in 11th grade. An upper third of their class will be eligible to attend. The purpose of this program, again, is for young men in 11th grade that have 1 or more year in respective high schools and will be in position to furnish leadership, not only in their schools but in their communities. And they do. I've been privileged to know 1 or 2 people have gone to Boys State, and these young men come back and they say it's just something they've never experienced before. It's a week long. They stay there. They meet kids from all over the state of Tennessee, to do this program. So it's very, very prevalent if that's something you're interested in.
Well, Michael, Charlie, thank you so much. It's been an honor having you in our studios today. Thank you for giving up some of your Saturday morning to be with us. Thank you very much for your service to our military. Blessings to you and all your families. And we'll do it again on down the road.
Yes,
thank you, gentlemen.
Yes,
thank you. It's been an
Flash.
honor.
Thank
It's
you.
been an honor. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, that's our program, Operation 7570. Thank you so much for being with us. Have a great day. We'll see you next Saturday morning.
Hello, folks. This is Marcus Vine with Apex Bank of Camden, and we're proud to announce that this year is our 90th year serving the Benton County community. Since Bank of Camden's humble beginning,